it's just a great day that we can celebrate agriculture and we can all come together as the Commonwealth of Kentucky and we can enjoy this great day and have a charity auction. So thank you very much for being here. As we always do in Farm Bureau, we'd like to take this time to have our invocation, and we've asked Mr. Ronnie Drenham, representing the Kentucky Country Ham Producers Association, if he would to please come and give our invocation. Mr. Drenham.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all the blessings you give us, dear Lord. We thank you for this meal that we've just enjoyed, dear Father. We ask that you bless it to the nourishment of our body. Dear Lord, we ask that you bless this country and the great Commonwealth of Kentucky that you allow us to live in. May we be good caretakers of your land and good stewards of your fruits. Watch over and protect our servicemen who fight to uphold our freedom. May we seek and follow your guidance each and every day, dear Lord. We ask all these things in your name, in Jesus' holy name. Amen.
It's my honor this morning to get to introduce our master of ceremonies this morning. This gentleman is a great friend to agriculture and everything that he does. He supports agriculture. It's our president, Mr. Mark Haney. He is the president of Kentucky Farm Bureau and all of its affiliated companies. He's also on the American Farm Bureau Board of Directors, which this past January he was appointed by our new American Farm Bureau president to their executive committee. So that's a great honor for Kentucky that he gets to serve on that executive committee of American Farm Bureau. He also serves on the Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Board of Directors, along with many other boards that he's on. He comes to us from Pulaski County in Nancy, Kentucky, where he and his brother Don have a farmer's market, have an orchard, and a bakery there. So if you would, please join me in welcoming my friend, Mr. Mark Haney.
Thank you, Eddie, very much. Good morning, everyone. Good welcome this morning. I'd like to welcome you to the Kentucky Farm Bureau's 53rd Annual Kentucky Farm Bureau Breakfast and Charitable Auction. Kentucky Farm Bureau is proud to welcome over 1,600 guests at today's breakfast that celebrates the best of Farm Bureau, our commitment to agriculture, our commitment to Kentucky, and our commitment to philanthropy. More importantly, we are committed to serving our member families and making life better in Kentucky. We're proud of today's tradition. Its 53-year history in the ham breakfast and the auction has raised nearly $10 million for Kentucky charities and nonprofit organizations. Thank you so much. Thank you for doing that. Beginning in 1964, our guests have watched the prized ham go from a winning bid of $124 to up to $745,000 average for the last 10 years. So it's been phenomenal. Each year, we're grateful for the public officials who come forward to talk to us about their perspective on agriculture and the things that affect us here in Kentucky. Today, I say welcome to each and every person in this audience. I speak for our board, our management, our staff, our member families when I say Farm Bureau loves Kentucky. I want to take a minute this morning to talk about what Farm Bureau is all about and how it works. Simply put, Farm Bureau loves Kentucky. We love its people, its communities, its farms, its diversity, and we serve a unifying entity that for a whole bunch of folks that don't always agree on everything. What you should know is the Kentucky Farm Bureau is a democratic organization. We are member-based and we are member-driven. In other words, we work from the ground up. Like our crops that rise from the ground each year, our policy positions rise from the grassroots of each county farm bureau in Kentucky. Our membership is in touch with their communities. Really and truly, our policies reflect our membership in Kentucky's rural communities. One thing about the Farm Bureau is our reliability and our democratic process for constructing our policy and electing our leadership has reliably occurred every year since our existence. Positions change, people change. But the democratic process and its reliability never does. In fact, our process mirrors the very precepts which our nation was founded. The idea of a democratic process being more important than any one person's opinion. We don't agree on every policy or with every candidate, but we all agree that once the democratic process runs its course, we abide by the decision of the majority. Our basic governing principle is rooted in the idea that a fair, free democratic process is essential to best representing the views of Farm Bureau members. Does everyone on this podium agree on every policy? We don't. In fact, my family's vote counts the same as any other family Farm Bureau member in Kentucky. We get one vote per family on policies and leadership. To be clear, Kentucky Farm Bureau does not discriminate. We follow the law. To be very clear, we do not apologize for our democratic grassroots process, the principles of which have served our nation very well for a long time and this organization for 97 years. Thank you. We respect the right of all organizations to go through their policy development process. We ask that organizations and individuals respect our right for our process, even if you think differently. Kentucky Farm Bureau's process is reliable and very respected. If you aren't familiar with the Farm Bureau's impact on communities and what we do to make Kentucky a better place, let me say we are about service and we're about love for our state, the state of Kentucky. I tell people all the time, if Farm Bureau went away in any community, it would be gravely missed. This organization exists solely to serve member families, Kentucky, her people. Let me give you just a few examples here today. Kentucky Farm Bureau is proud to help families across the state reach their goal of obtaining a quality post-secondary education for their kids. This year alone, the state and county farm bureaus have provided 327 scholarship grants totaling near $500,000 to students across the state. And we've been doing that since 1953. Another example, we're engaging on the war on hunger. Under the leadership of Agriculture Commissioner Ryan Quarles, who we'll hear from later this morning, Kentucky Farm Bureau is proud to be a member of the first ever Hunger Task Force. We have expertise when it comes to growing food for our people, and we look forward to making an impactful contribution towards solving the problem of hunger. Commissioner, thank you for your leadership on this endeavor. Thank you very much. Finally, for a long time, we have been one of the biggest contributors, sponsors, and supporters of youth leadership programs such as 4-H and FFA. I bet if I ask you here today how many folks had in their background 4-H, FFA, or some youth leadership program, it would go all across this room. We're very proud of the work that we do in that area. We're working with the groups that is our future and will make our state strong in the future. We just thank you so much, youth leadership that's here today. Thank you, and all the folks for 4-H, FFA. We can't say thank you enough. Our folks are humble. They don't engage for service, for a pat on the back. They do it because they love Kentucky and they believe in serving their neighbors. For the Farm Bureau members out there who quietly serve, and you know who you are, you do it in your, not only in your counties, but in your local communities. You serve and you give, and we want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for you doing that every day in your life. I appreciate it. One final thing to remember is, folks, we will always be committed to Kentucky and their communities. Simply put, Kentucky Farm Bureau loves Kentucky. I'd like to introduce the head table, if I may. As I call your name, please stand and remain standing and hold your applause until I get everyone introduced, please. Starting at my far left, we have Joe Kane, Director of Commodity Division and Kentucky Farm Bureau Staff Coordinator for today's ham breakfast. We have Ronnie Drennan that has already been introduced, but he is also owner and producer of this year's Grand Champion Country Ham and representing the Country Ham Producers Association, and his wife, Beth. We have Jonathan Noel, Kentucky Champion Auctioneer, who will auction this year's ham. We have Dr. Nancy Cox, Dean of the University of Kentucky College of Agriculture, Food and Environment. We have Greg Fisher, Mayor of Louisville Metro. We have Rand Paul, U.S. Senator. Eddie Melton, First Vice President of Kentucky Farm Bureau. We have Mitch McConnell, U.S. Senate Majority Leader. We have David Beck, Executive Vice President of Kentucky Farm Bureau. To my far right, we have Danny Townsend representing the Kentucky Sweet Sorghum Producers and Processors Association. Jeff Wilkerson representing Dairy Products Association of Kentucky. Ray Tucker, President-elect of the Kentucky State Beekeepers Association. We have Joey Long representing Kentucky Poultry Federation and Cal-Maine Foods. We have John Sparrow, Executive Vice President and CEO of the Kentucky Farm Bureau Insurance Company. We have Dr. Mark Lynn, Chairman of the Kentucky State Board of Agriculture. We have Ryan Quarles, Commissioner, Kentucky Department of Agriculture. Fritz Gieske, Second Vice President, Kentucky Farm Bureau. Matt Bevin, Governor of Kentucky. Please give a warm Farm Bureau welcome to our group. You know, the State Fair is an event that provides Kentuckians with educational exhibits, livestock shows, premier concerts, good food for more than 100 years. It has also offered the highest levels of competition for young people from all corners of our Commonwealth. It's a celebration of Kentucky agriculture and our way of life. Kentucky Farm Bureau is proud to have been a partner of Kentucky State Fair for all these years, and we look forward to many years in the future as we come together. I have several introductions to make this morning, so please bear with me as I do that. First, I'd like to show our appreciation for a group of dedicated people that have made Kentucky State Fair and the Kentucky Exposition Center the showplace of our nation. I'd like to ask the State Fair Board members and the State Fair staff to stand and be recognized, if you would, please. Thank you so much for what you've done here today. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd like to ask the representatives from Mercer County. Mercer is the 2015 Kentucky Farm Bureau Outstanding County. They're with us this morning. Mercer County's in the far left back there. Thank you for being here. I'd like to recognize our 2015 Kentucky Farm Bureau Outstanding Youth Contest winners. Reagan Miller from Warren County and Benjamin Pinkston from Mercer County are with us this morning. Would you please stand to be recognized back there? Thank you for being here. They're back in the far right. We're pleased to have with us today the state officers of both 4-H and FFA. We're so proud of these groups. Would you stand to be recognized, please? 4-H and FFA, thank you all for being here this morning. One of the special attractions of the ham breakfast is the attendance of a number of our political leaders. And please stand as I introduce you. Coming from the 2nd Congressional District, we have Congressman Brett Guthrie. From the 4th District, we have Congressman Thomas Massey. From the 6th Congressional District, we have Andy Barr, and we have their staff that's with them this morning. Thank you for being here. Let's show them a round of applause. We're pleased to have Kentucky's Lieutenant Governor with us this morning, Lieutenant Governor Janine Hampton. Thank you for being here. Very much. We have constitutional officers with us today. Would you stand, please, as I introduce you? Secretary of State Allison Lundergan Grimes, State Treasurer Allison Ball, and State Auditor Mike Harmon. Would you all stand? Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. We have a lot of members of the General Assembly with us today, including several members of legislative leadership. Please stand as I introduce you and remain standing, please. We have Speaker of the House Greg Stumbo with us this morning. We have Senate President Pro Tem David Givens with us this morning. We have Senate Majority Floor Leader Damon Thayer. Please make them welcome this morning. Thank you. We're so pleased to have many of our General Assembly members with us this morning. We work so close with the legislature, and we're so pleased when you're able to come and join us this morning for breakfast. Would you stand, please, to be recognized? All the members of the General Assembly. Look at that, wide variety. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. We also have with us this morning Mayor Jim Gray, candidate for U.S. Senate. He is with us this morning. Thank you, Mayor, for being with us. We have many representatives from our colleges and universities with us this morning. They're all across the building. Thank you for being here. Ran into my friend Dr. Capilouto earlier. Would all the university and college folks, would you please stand across the building to be recognized? Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have a number of state agriculture commodity groups, state associations, agricultural boards that are here today. If you're a member of a board of directors or you're an executive director or in leadership of any of these state commodity-wide and agriculture organizations, we want to recognize you and we want to thank you for the partnership that we have with you. Would you stand to be recognized, please? You know who you are. We've got a lot of them. Thank you. Would everyone representing our state and federal agencies working with agriculture, would you please stand to be recognized? I saw many of you this morning. If you're a state or federal, thank you very much, organization, for being here. I would like to recognize another board, very important to me. That's Kentucky Farm Bureau Board of Directors. Would you stand to be recognized, please? Our Board of Directors from Kentucky Farm Bureau. Thank you. Thank you. I would also like to recognize all of our staff from Kentucky Farm Bureau and Kentucky Farm Bureau Insurance Company and our agents. So would you please stand? Kentucky Farm Bureau agents, staff, and employees. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I also want to say thanks to my family that's down here supporting me this morning. Thank you all for being here very much. Now it's my pleasure to introduce to you the Mayor of Louisville, Mayor Fisher. Committed to growing jobs and creating a culture of innovation, entrepreneurship, and transparency, Greg Fisher was elected Louisville's 50th mayor in 2010. Mayor Fisher pursues three top goals: creating jobs, improving education, and creating an even more compassionate community. As a businessman and an entrepreneur, he brings a data-driven approach to city government with the goal of making it more efficient and accessible. Mayor Fisher was named a 2013 Public Official of the Year by Governing Magazine. Please give a warm Farm Bureau welcome to my friend, Mayor Fisher.
Thank you, Mark, and good morning to everybody. Welcome to Louisville. You're visiting our city at a really great time. Louisville's going through a renaissance right now. We've seen a lot of progress in the last several years. We've created over 55,000 new jobs, 2,500 new businesses. We've got about $6 billion worth of capital being invested in the city right now, and it couldn't be happening were it not for you all, and I will explain that here in a moment. We've become a top global tourist destination. We've gotten praise from the Food Network, and anytime you see the list of the foodiest cities in the world, Louisville is usually in the top 10. And that would not be happening if it were not for our partnership here with the great farmers in Kentucky. Why? Our new 365-day-a-year tourism industry starts with the delicious local food that you all produce for us day after day. We combine that with some of the best chefs here in the world, authentic cultural tourism around the home of almost all of the world's bourbon, and you've got a uniquely Kentucky combination that we've called bourbonism. And it is really turning into a year-round tourist experience, not just for us here in Louisville, but for the entire state as well. So it's one of the reasons why tourism is really booming here, and we're now proud to welcome over 16 million visitors a year here to our city, including 600,000 at the State Fair. And so food tourism is a huge part of this, and I think that's great for the economic vitality of our entire Commonwealth. Now, if we're all going to flourish, we've got to be innovative. And you see new industries emerge that are based on innovation, but you see traditional industries that flourish on innovation as well. At the State Fair, we see that everywhere we go. We see the skill and innovation that comes from our Kentucky farmers. For example, one of the hottest innovative products at this year's State Fair is the famous Henry County David Neville's hemp dogs. You can see the perfect picture of this. Now, it tastes so good, most people said, this isn't a hot dog, this is an artisanal sausage. So if you haven't tried one yet, please do so. It's made with beautiful Kentucky beef and hemp hearts, and check it out. It's delicious, it's one of a kind, and it's certainly Kentucky proud. So David Neville, if you're here, great job. Thanks for being an innovator for us. David Neville. But yes, I am a city mayor, unapologetically, who's dedicated to the success of Kentucky farmers, and I hope you all see that. The USDA reports that we have about 77,000 farms in Kentucky, and those of us in cities need to do all we can to make sure that our farms and our farmers have the support that they need to do their work, and to me, most importantly, make a profit. You guys know how tough that is. That's why I'm excited to see programs like Louisville-based Farm Credit, Mid-America's Young, Beginning, and Small Farmer Program. Farm Credit is a big partner with us in the city. Listen to what they've done. They've made 34,000 loans to young farmers and more than 60,000 loans to beginning farmers of all ages to help keep more of our farms in Kentucky and elsewhere producing great food. So I really want to thank them. Dick Poe and Mark Barker are here this morning from Farm Credit Mid-America. Gentlemen, thank you for all that your firm does. Really appreciate you guys. Now, Louisville Metro government, we believe in Kentucky farms and Kentucky food. You've heard how it's helping our industry here. We know that our future as a city and Kentucky's future as a state are forever connected. We work together, we eat together on mornings like this, and we move forward together. That's why we established our Louisville Farm to Table program, which works to put more delicious Kentucky-proud food on more tables, not just here in Louisville, but our entire region. Louisville Metro government is working with Commissioner Quarles, the Kentucky Department of Agriculture, and Bluegrass Farm to Table to support and expand KDA's Farm to Campus program. We're working with KDA, the Cattlemen's Association, and other partners in projects to get more Kentucky-raised beef into institutions like our hospitals and our school systems. And then we're also working with the Organic Association of Kentucky to promote opportunities for Kentucky farmers to transition to organic production if they wish, so they can sell the food they produce in more places for better profits. So here in Louisville also, we're working with our local farmers markets. We're helping them establish connections with one another to take on common challenges like branding, marketing, volunteer recruitment, and sharing of best practices so they can become stronger points of sale for Kentucky's great local food, farm food. Then we're also working with our Community Farm Alliance to help more of our farmers markets, vendors, accept SNAP payment. The program provides an extra $1 of spending power for every SNAP dollar spent on fresh local food at the farmers markets. So we'd love to work with you all in this endeavor. Contact us. Our info is up on the screen. So you all got the farms. You know that. We've got the tables here in the city. We're all Kentuckians, so let's work together. Let's grow Kentucky's food economy and prosper together. God bless you all.
It's my honor to introduce this morning Governor Matt Bevin. Matt Bevin was elected governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky 2015. He is a husband, a father of 9 children, a veteran, and a small business owner. Governor Bevin grew up on a farm where his family raised both crops and animals. His family of 8 shared 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. Ooh. And it was a financially humble home, but he was raised with a strong work ethic and solid Christian values. He attended Washington and Lee University in Virginia on a ROTC scholarship, and upon graduation served on active duty as a U.S. Army officer. After his military service, Governor Bevin worked for many years in the financial industry. A job opportunity brought Governor Bevin and his wife, Glenna, a registered nurse, to Kentucky about 17 years ago when they decided to put down roots and raise their family here. Governor Bevin has served on many nonprofit boards, including chairman of the board for the American Red Cross Louisville area chapter. He has permanently endowed several scholarship funds, grants, and centers that provide educational opportunities for young people with financial resources. Please give a warm farmer welcome to the Governor of Kentucky, Matt Bevin. Is that in your way?
No, that's fine. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. It really is good to be here. I want to first of all thank each of you for being here. I mean, it's not easy to get out, and some of you have come from a long way to be here at this hour, so thank you for making this a priority. I was struck as we watched that video as it talked about the values that frankly are near and dear to those in the Farm Bureau. These are the very values that are near and dear to so many Kentuckians. It really struck to the heart of, even as you were talking about how I was raised. This is how so many of us were raised. The greatness of America was founded on those core principles, those very values of God and family and country, and of helping one another and of being intertwined in our communities. This is really what is celebrated by those of you that are here today. I think about 1,500 folks or something in this room. I don't even know the exact number, but a lot of you, and you've come from different areas, and we're from the city and we're from the rural communities. And we're all woven together in this tapestry of color, different colors of our skin, different colors of our clothes, different threads that we are wearing, literally and figuratively. But we are Kentucky. We really are. And I'm just honored and grateful to be here, to be a part of this in some small way. So thank you for being here. All the other places you might have been, you've chosen to be here. And frankly, who doesn't love a good ham breakfast? I'll be honest, I don't know. I mean, I know some people don't like ham. But I don't know if you saw some of these people outside. They're taking it to an extreme that, you know, I mean, they apparently really don't like ham. And they're out there. Somebody asked me what I thought about these protesters. I thought, well, I mean, I just don't eat it. You know, just don't eat the ham. It's all right. But anyhow, But this is America. And truly, the greatness of America is that some of us can like ham and some cannot like ham, and we can still all live in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I want to also thank real quickly the people who think about this. On some of your tables, there are still a couple of seats that nobody has sat, and there's a coffee cup with a little fan, the napkin that's fanned out. Can you imagine somebody got up probably last night, this morning, sometime, and folded 1,500 of those things so that we could sit down and see a beautifully set up table when we got here. Somebody set up these tablecloths, somebody put out this food. And as a guy who washed dishes and served food and set up banquets and tore down after banquets for 4 years to get through school, I have a special appreciation for the people who, even after we leave, will come in and pick this place up. So thank you. If you happen to still be in and around for preparing the food and preparing this place, we owe you a debt of gratitude. To our law enforcement officers who are here in this room, not only for our safety and security, but frankly for those that are attending this fair, for all the people that they serve day in and day out. Thank you to our law enforcement community. There's really nothing that messes with the digestion of a good meal like a lot of hot air from an elected official. So I will keep my comments brief, simply to say this. There's a couple of initiatives I want to speak to. The mayor talked about the connection that exists between the city and the country, and I appreciate that. A lot of good things have been happening in this city and in other cities across the Commonwealth. It is that kind of collaboration that really is the uniqueness in some respects, and certainly part of the greatness of who we are as a Commonwealth, as the state of Kentucky. But there's three things I just want to draw your attention to, and perhaps you're aware of them. So many things have gone on. We have seen a state that, frankly, has taken its tobacco settlement funds and done things with them that are extraordinary. Other states have not been so wise, and I tip my hat, frankly, to those of you who have been a part of this from the beginning and being good stewards, as was mentioned in the invocation, being good stewards of those resources. Our cash crop sales have doubled, frankly, since we've started to implement the use of those dollars, and the diversification of our crops is impressive. And so I applaud you for that. That's not actually one of the three things, so I might already be starting to slip extra stuff in there. But it's a testament to those of you who are in the ag community, and I thank you for that. I thank you for the fact that also you're willing to think outside the box, and these are the three things I want to touch on. Three things that have happened just in recent months through legislation that has come out of our General Assembly, as well as just initiatives that have been undertaken by this administration. And those are, we have set up for the first time a water resource board. This is going to affect every single person in this community, in this room, and everyone that you touch day in and day out. The Commonwealth of Kentucky is blessed with something that, frankly, is going to be probably the most valuable commodity in our own lifetimes, let alone 50 and 100 years from now. More than gold, more than oil, it will be water. Water is an incredible resource. The world will be seeking it literally and figuratively in every sense. And here we are located right in the middle of the safest continent in a geopolitically unstable world, and we have an abundance of it. So we've set up a resource board that's going to be comprised of people appointed by constituencies that represent all of you here and many beyond, that will talk about how can we best be stewards going forward of this resource. That's something that I want you to bear in mind, be aware of. If you have ideas on how we can be better stewards of our precious resource of water, let us know. Reach out to our administration, reach out to the Agricultural Commissioner. Just let us know what your ideas are that we should incorporate. Without going into the details, you've perhaps heard of and will be hearing more about the Grain and Forage Research Center for Excellence that's being established in Western Kentucky. These are the types of things to, again, be innovative and forward-thinking. Things that will ultimately lead to potentially, if not hemp dogs, things that are also of a kind of forward-thinking nature. How can we develop the best approach to raising grain here in Kentucky? The third thing I'll mention, and the last thing, is this. If you're not familiar with our effort for red tape reduction, I want you to please make a mental or literal note about this. If you were to go to redtapereduction.com, we want to hear from you. redtapereduction.com. It is an initiative. In this state, there are more than 4,500 pieces of regulation that affect every single one of you day in and day out. Every one of our lives, especially if you're in small business. The 4,500 are specific just to business in Kentucky. I am fairly confident we could well regulate you with, say, 3,000 pieces of regulation. And so to that end, what we have pledged is that we, over the next 3 years, are going to cut at least 30% of the regulation out of this state as it relates to this kind of red tape. We want this to be a state where we are safe, where we are secure, where we are able to assimilate well and to streamline business. But the bottom line is we don't want it to suffocate you. And there's a lot of red tape that's just redundant, it's unneeded, it's antiquated. We want to hear from you. If you have ideas for how we can cut the red tape, and I'm delighted by people who are at all ends of the political spectrum who have embraced this, who find it to be a little bit suffocating, reach out to us, redtapereduction.com. This is our Commonwealth. Again, that video, I appreciate it. It was well done. I think it speaks to the values of who we are. We are indeed Kentucky. We'll rise and fall together, as our state motto says. United we stand, divided we fall. God bless you. Thank you for letting me be here.
We're also pleased to have with us Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. In November of 2014, Senator McConnell was unanimously elected Senate Majority Leader by his Republican colleagues. As such, he is the highest-ranking Republican in the United States Senate and widely considered one of the most effective lawmakers in Congress. Senator McConnell was instrumental in achieving passage of the tobacco buyout. He has won the American Farm Bureau Friend of Farm Bureau Award during every session of Congress since 1996, and the Golden Plow Award in 2005. In 2002, he won the American Farm Bureau's Most Distinguished Service Award, followed in the footsteps of Senator John Sherman Cooper to become the second Kentuckian to win this award. Please give a warm Farm Bureau welcome to U.S. Senator Mitch McConnell. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Mark. It's good to be back again this morning. And Governor, you're off to a great start. Congratulations on that. My colleague, Senator Paul, Commissioner Quarles, continuing the fine tradition of Commissioner of Agriculture in our state. We've been very fortunate to have two really outstanding agriculture commissioners in a row. I also want to single out the UK College of Agriculture, a real jewel. Dean Cox, we're proud of you and all you've done. We've got a great College of Agriculture at UK, and I think you all know that, but let's show them our appreciation. As Mark indicated, almost 2 years ago, I became the leader of the majority in the Senate as a result of the votes of the American people and the votes of my Senate colleagues. And I remember having a press conference today after the election and saying, okay, we have divided government. What are the American people saying when they elect divided government? Well, I think they're saying, we know you have some pretty big differences, but why don't you look for the things you can agree on that are worth doing and make some progress for the country? And so as the majority leader, I got to set the agenda. And so what I've tried to do is to look for things that made a difference, that could move us in the right direction, even though obviously we have some very large differences of opinion about what the country ought to be. Trade Promotion Authority, for example, the ability of this president and the next one to enter into a trade agreement and send it up to Congress and get a vote. It was a rather unusual experience. I was aligned with Barack Obama against Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi. Almost an out-of-body experience now that I think about it. But we needed to have the ability, as we've had off and on since Franklin Roosevelt, with the president, whoever the president is, to keep America in the trading business. And I know that's pretty unpopular these days. It seems like the politics of trade have become rather toxic, but I do think it's important to remind everybody that America's been a great trading nation going back to our founding. And no sector of the American economy has benefited greater from world trade than American agriculture. So TPA, Trade Promotion Authority, is in place for the next president, whoever that may be. And the current agreement, the Trans-Pacific Agreement, which has some serious flaws, will not be acted upon this year, but it will still be around. It can be massaged, changed, worked on during the next administration. So I hope America will stay in the trade business, and to do that, it's going to have to be done on a bipartisan basis. We had another serious threat to American agriculture just recently that many of you followed. Vermont, one state, was imposing a set of food labeling requirements that every food processor in the country would have to comply with. It was a nightmare. You know, what are we going to do? Have a different label in every state in America? So we passed a piece of legislation to try to settle that down and to preempt the labeling laws to make it more possible for food manufacturers, processors to distribute without dramatically raising the cost for everyone else. Highways. You'd think passing a highway bill would be a no-brainer. We hadn't passed a multi-year highway bill in 20 years. The Senate took up and passed a 5-year highway bill. For those of you who are in the state legislature, you've got some certainty now. For those of you who build roads, you've got some certainty, not all of these short-term extensions frequently occurring in the middle of construction season, making it all, of course, easier to get products to the market. Tax relief. We made Section 179 expensing, which is important on every single one of your tax returns if you're in Kentucky agriculture, permanent law, so you can depend on it. We made the R&D tax credit permanent law, so you can depend on it. The hemp, we're continuing to make some progress toward moving toward a great substitute, we hope, down the road for tobacco, which used to provide so many dollars and opportunities for generations of Kentuckians. And I particularly want to single out Commissioner Jamie Comer, our former Commissioner of Agriculture, for the great work he did to kind of launch that. Senator Paul was involved in it as well. We're making progress toward having a great new crop. That's all good news. The bad news is this is a very urban-oriented national administration, very urban-oriented, and very regulatory. The governor mentioned what he's trying to do to reduce red tape. You may or may not have seen the article last week that there have been over 600 hugely impactful regulations during the Obama years, 600. And they got 50 more they want to do on the way out the door. Now, what's been the effect of this regulatory stranglehold on our country? This is the slowest recovery after a deep recession since World War II. We had a big recession in 2008 and 2009. In the past, the pattern's been the deeper the recession, the quicker the bounce back. Not this time. There's not been a single year of 3% growth during the Obama administration. To realize the hopes and aspirations for the next generation, we need to be growing at 3.5% to 4% on average. That's not occurred. And the principal reason for it, my friend, is regulating everything in a hugely meddlesome way. One of the most conspicuous examples of that affects agriculture is the Waters of the U.S. regulation, which all of you are familiar with. We passed a measure to repeal it, and of course the president vetoed it. But the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals has issued a nationwide stay, and so it's not going into effect. For those of you in the city who don't understand the significance of this, it would have literally given EPA the ability to regulate every puddle in America. Now, what kind of attitude is that about providing the opportunity for Americans to engage in economic activity? And honestly, much of this is just stupid. I mean, stupid. Who are these people who come up with this stuff? So we do have some pretty big differences, and I hope the next president, whoever that may be, will have a different attitude about how to get America moving again. This overregulation has been like putting your foot on the brake and keeping us from realizing our potential as a country. We need to take the foot off the brake and put it on the accelerator and get America moving again. Now, let me finally say this. The most important thing, arguably, any president does that affects us for potentially decades to come is to fill vacancies on the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has a huge impact on what America is going to be like, a huge impact. And as you know, last February, Justice Scalia passed away. And even though most things we do in Congress require presidential signature, the Constitution of the United States says the President shall nominate and by and with the advice and consent of the Senate, confirm appointments to the courts. And so I said, in the midst of a hail of controversy, Mr. President, in the 11th hour of your administration, you will not fill this Supreme Court vacancy. The American people are in the middle of deciding what kind of country they want to have, making a big decision about who's going to be the President of the United States. And so the next president will decide this vacancy. He will have been duly elected by the American people in the middle of a very contested election, and the American people will decide who makes this appointment. And of course, we'll be living with that for quite some time to come. So summing it up, what this majority has been about in the Senate for the last 2 years is about making progress for the country on things we can agree on. Highway bills, rewrites of elementary and secondary education, trying to get power out of Washington and back down to the states, making progress for the country. So I appreciate so much the opportunity. As Mark knows, I've been on the Agriculture Committee since the day I was sworn into the Senate, and I always tried to spend a lot of time on agriculture and agricultural matters. I deeply appreciate what all of you do. It's extremely important to Kentucky and to the nation. Thank you so much.
Also joining us this morning, we're pleased to have with us U.S. Senator Rand Paul. Senator Paul is serving his first term as U.S. Senator, representing Kentucky and being elected in 2010. Senator Paul serves on the Foreign Relations Committee, the Health, Education, Labor and Pensions Committee, the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, and the Small Business and Entrepreneurship Committee. Please give a warm welcome to Senator Paul this morning. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Senator McConnell mentioned some of the regulatory overreach, some of the crazy stuff going on with regulatory agencies. So you may not realize this, but we have 48 regulatory agencies that have SWAT teams that carry sidearms. Department of Agriculture has armed agents. The EPA has armed agents. You worry about the waters of the U.S., even before that regulation is enacted, there was a farmer in Wyoming by the name of Andy Johnson over in Fort Bridger who the EPA came on his land and fined him $37,000 a day. His fines were up in the millions of dollars, and fortunately, he had a property rights group that defended him, went all the way to the Supreme Court, and he won. And the court said, you get your day in court. The government can't just come on your land. I met a farmer the other day in Bowling Green. He was telling me about the EPA coming out there. So the EPA agent comes out with his sidearm and his badge, and he says, I want to come on your farm. And the guy says, well, you can't come. He says, I've got a badge. I can do what he wants. And he starts marching out into the field, and the guy said, I wouldn't go out there. And he says, I've got a badge, and I'll do what I want. About 2 minutes later, the guy comes running out of the field with a bull chasing him. And he's saying, help, help, what do I do, what do I do? And the farmer said, show him your badge. For those of you who are literalists, that was made up, all right? That was not actually literally true. But it serves a point and a purpose to say that, you know what? We've got to be careful about giving too much power to the federal government over it. The waters of the U.S., if enacted, 95% of Kentucky will be under EPA control. everything that ever has any water on it, even if it doesn't have water on it. You can take a soil sample. If they think there's water in your soil and you can't see it, they can still regulate it. If they think a bird flew from the Great Lakes and landed on your farm is now a nexus. Your farm is connected. Your farm is now part of the Great Lakes. That's absurd. But this is the problem we're fighting in Washington. One side, our side, is trying to say less regulations. The other side is trying to say there's no limit. We're going to keep going on and on and on until there's nothing left of the farming community, nothing left of the small business community. That's the onslaught we're fighting in Washington. Now, I like the Kentucky Farm Bureau, and one of the interesting things about the Kentucky Farm Bureau is they come to Washington with their families, husbands, wives, kids. They talk about the family farm. They don't just talk about, oh, this is a business need. It is a business, and they do talk about that, but it's a farming culture. It's a farming family. To them, it's important, the traditions of marriage, the traditions of church, the traditions of believing that life matters, that every life matters, from before birth to after birth. And they don't apologize for it. It's in their manual. I get a manual every year from them, and I read it, and I say, hooray. You know, we've got to have tolerance on both sides. The other side just wants to tell us we got to give up on everything we believe in. What about the other side tolerating Christians who believe in traditional beliefs? Senator McConnell mentioned the highway bill, which you would think there would be bipartisan support for. And often there is, but we still were having trouble getting a lot of things done, trying to find common agreement. So I proposed a couple of things to try to fund the highway bill and try to fund highways in general. The first is I say, you know what? Why don't we just quit sending money to countries that hate us and burn our flag? You know, we send billions of dollars of foreign aid overseas. We've spent over $100 billion paving roads in Afghanistan. And look, I agreed with the war in the beginning. I'm glad we got bin Laden. I would have voted for that. We've been there 15 years and we're still paving their roads, and we've got needs here at home. I think that foreign aid ought to be spent here at home and not spent overseas. I also think that we shouldn't be giving foreign aid to countries that persecute Christians. There's about 30 countries that have the death penalty if you convert to Christianity. It's a death penalty if you marry a Christian. It's a death penalty if you criticize the state religion. So I had a vote in the Foreign Relations Committee. I said no more money to any country that has these kind of laws on their books. Why would we give money to countries that hate us, to countries that persecute Christians? And I lost overwhelmingly. Republicans and Democrats said, oh no, we got to keep giving to them. We'll make them our friends by giving them money. Kind of reminded me of elementary school when there was the poor, pitiful kid who was giving people $5 to be their friend. You know, it doesn't work. Why don't we withhold the money until they behave instead of giving them money in hopes that they'll promise to behave? Let's withhold the money. Another idea I've had for trying to get more money for the transportation fund without raising taxes is actually to lower the tax on bringing American profit home. There are $2 trillion overseas in American profit. Apple alone has nearly $200 billion. And they're a great company. They're one of the biggest taxpayers we have in our country. They've made this profit by selling stuff overseas, then they pay a tax overseas. But then we want to charge them 35% to bring the money home. There are only 2 countries in the world that do this, the U.S. and the dictatorship of Eritrea. No other country taxes you to bring your profit home. Apple's not bringing any home. You know what they do? They actually borrow money at 2% rather than pay 35%. It would be malpractice for them to bring it home. But why don't we lower the rate on it? And I've actually got Barbara Boxer from the far left on a bill with me. Let's lower the rate, encourage the money to come home. I have an economist that says over $1 trillion will come home. Let's encourage that money to come home, and then let's take that money and put it in the highway fund. Lower a tax, get more tax revenue, and build some roads. There are ways we can do this if we'll just think outside the box and not think that there's only one way to fix things, and not think that we have to be divided in partisan ways on things like roads, which should bring us together. When I think of our country, I think it's important that we not forget, because a lot of us have complaints about government putting obstacles in our ways, and this is wrong and this is wrong. We shouldn't forget what a great country it is. When you look at agriculture, we're the best at growing food in the whole world. We really, literally are. We grow so much food that we export 25% of it. That's why trade is important. We are the richest, the freest, and the most humanitarian country ever known in the history of mankind. In 2014, we gave away nearly $400 billion, not the government, you, to your churches, to the Salvation Army, to Red Cross, to charities, nearly $400 billion. That does not happen in Cuba. Doesn't happen in Venezuela. Doesn't happen in Russia. It doesn't happen under socialism. The economic system we have is why we thrive. Capitalism is equivalent to choice. Competition is equivalent to choice. It's equivalent to the freedom to be left alone to buy and sell what you produce. That is capitalism. That is the great foundation of our country, and it's incredibly important that we understand that. We have had people in the last year running for president who are spouting socialism and saying how great socialism would be. But inherent to socialism is violence, force, and ultimately pogrom and killing fields. 60-some-odd million people were killed by Mao, 30-some-odd million by Stalin. It's not an accident of a controlled economy, of giving too much power. Ultimately, our job, as I see it, is to represent you by protecting your God-given rights and limiting the power we give to government. Lincoln put it this way. Lincoln said, any man can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man, give him power. It's that idea that power is a corrupting influence and that we should limit the amount of power. I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat, limit the amount of power that a president has. Our founding fathers thought it was incredibly important. So I pledge to you to keep working not only for the farming community, but to keep working and understanding that my pledge is to defend the Constitution, which means a balanced budget, defend your rights, defend your God-given liberty, and in that cause I will continue. Thank you very much.
This time, I'd like to thank the following organizations for their support of today's breakfast. Cal-Maine Foods and the Kentucky Poultry Federation providing the 5,400 eggs that was served here this morning. The Dairy Products Association of Kentucky for over 1,600 half pints of milk. The Kentucky Sweet Sorghum Producers processing over 30 gallons of sorghum for us here today. And the Kentucky State Beekeepers Association for the 20 gallons of honey. And it's all on the table. Take it home with you when you leave. The Florida Farm Bureau for the juice of over 6,400 oranges. And of course, you've enjoyed over 450 pounds of delicious Kentucky country ham prepared by the Kentucky country ham producers. So with that, please give them a thank you for all their work. I'd like to remind you that today I'd like to invite you to the Kentucky Farm Bureau Picnic, which will be held at noon here today. It will begin on the upper level of the south wing. Simply take the escalators up to the upper level, and there'll be plenty of food and fun for everyone there. Before lunch, you may also want to stop by the Farm Bureau booth in the South Wing C and see the Pride of Kentucky. It's a very nice array of exhibits there celebrating rural life in Kentucky, and I encourage you to go by and see that. Now for the presentation of trophies, I would like to introduce to you our Commissioner of Agriculture. Ryan Quarles grew up on the family's farm in Scott County, coming from a family that has lived in central Kentucky for over 200 years. Ryan completed 3 undergraduate majors and 2 graduate degrees in just 4 years at the University of Kentucky, graduating in 2006. In 2008, Harvard University awarded Ryan a full scholarship with the Zuckerman Fellows Program, which enabled him to continue his studies at the Harvard Graduate School of Education, the Kennedy School of Government, and the Harvard Law School. In 2009, he graduated from Harvard with a master's degree in higher education before moving back to Kentucky to finish his last year of law school. Ryan was elected to the General Assembly in 2010, representing Scott, Owen, and Fayette counties. Ryan served as Vice Chairman of the House Judiciary Committee and served on the Agriculture and Small Business Committee, the Tobacco Master Settlement Oversight Committee, and the Banking and Insurance Committee. In 2015, Ryan was elected as Kentucky's Commissioner of Agriculture. At 32, Commissioner Quarles is currently the youngest statewide elected official in the United States. As the commissioner is making his comments, I'd like for the ham winners, please, to make the way to the stage, please. Please give a warm Farm Bureau welcome to the Commissioner of Agriculture, Ryan Quarles. Thank you, sir.
Sit down. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Mark. I think the only thing you forgot to mention is how much student loan debt I have after those degrees. But thank you, Farm Bureau, for putting on such a wonderful Kentucky-proud country ham breakfast this morning. Let's give a round of applause to not only those who prepared our food this morning, but also the farmers that grew it as well. Thank you very much. Well, welcome to the 112th Kentucky State Fair. It's been an amazing event so far. We've had over 30,000 exhibitor entries so far, over 800 country hams, thousands a head of livestock, bizarre food combinations, and a personal best to only 8 pounds gained in the past week. You know, as the new Ag Commissioner, I do owe a few people on this stage some thank yous. I'd like to thank Leader McConnell and Senator Rand Paul for their strong advocacy and listening to the needs of agriculture in Washington, D.C. Thank you, and thank you for our other members of Congress in the audience today for your leadership in Washington, D.C. Thank you, Mayor Fisher, for being a mayor who's made Louisville a food destination city. Having the state fair in our state's largest city helps connect rural Kentucky with urban Kentucky once a year as we celebrate what is best in Kentucky agriculture. Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Governor Matt Bevin. Thank you for being so visible this year at the State Fair. His family has been spotted all over the place, popping in and out of our livestock barns, looking at exhibits and encouraging young people. I want to personally thank you for appointing a Kentucky State Fair Board with strong agricultural roots and listening to the needs of Kentucky farmers. And I also want to say thank you for hiring Warren Beeler, Mr. Agriculture himself, to run your office of ag policy. It is an honor to serve as the new agriculture commissioner. I get to follow in the bootsteps, so to say, of some great ag leaders. I believe Commissioner James Comer and Commissioner Billy Ray Smith really set the gold standard of how the KDA should be recognized. Please join me in thanking those two great ag leaders for their service to the Commonwealth. The State Fair would not be possible without the help of a lot of people from a lot of different places. Many of our employees have been on site for the past 2 weeks, working rain or shine to help set up livestock pens, to inspecting our amusement rides. Thank you for your help. If you're an employee of the Cooperative Extension Service, the Kentucky Fair and Expo Center, or the Kentucky Department of Agriculture, please stand and say thank you for what you've done to help put on a wonderful Kentucky State Fair. Thank you all. You know, one of my favorite sayings is that if you like to eat, thank a farmer. And as a farm boy growing up on a tobacco and cattle farm in rural Scott County, I followed the tobacco setter for $1 an hour as a kid. It was the lessons learned on the family farm that make Kentucky reach its potential. Values such as a hard work ethic, that a handshake means something, that you don't expect somebody to give you things in life. You go out and earn it yourself. It is these lessons that the Farm Bureau community knows so well that makes Kentucky agriculture nationally recognized. And we have a lot to be proud of in Kentucky agriculture. With over 75,000 farms, we can grow anything between apples and zucchinis and everything in between, and we do it well in our state. And when we talk about these 75,000 Kentucky farms, we're actually talking about Kentucky farm families. Because behind every dusty farm driveway, there is a hardworking family that runs the business. And yes, farms are businesses. In fact, it's a business industry that generates $6 billion a year that benefits every single county in Kentucky. And at the Department of Agriculture, my administration will be advocating for Kentucky agriculture as economic development. Because when a farm hires an extra hand or an agribusiness expands in Kentucky, it's no different than in manufacturing looking to locate here or expanding. And this highlights one of the biggest challenges in agriculture today. We're simply misunderstood. People do not know where their food comes from anymore. And because of these misperceptions facing our industry, my priority as Department of Agriculture is to continue to educate young Kentuckians where their food comes from, push back against federal government overreach from bureaucrats who don't know the difference between a soybean and a green bean. We will look towards international trade to connect farmers with emerging markets, and we will continue the success of the Kentucky Proud program that helps benefit Kentucky agriculture and agribusinesses. The Department of Agriculture, may come to a surprise to you, is also the state's largest regulatory agency. If you buy a gallon of gas, if you buy meat at a deli, if you get your truck weighed, if you were to ride an amusement ride, it is the Department of Agriculture that plays a consumer protection component in helping play a referee role in the marketplace. And we continue to do more with less. And for the first time ever, this year, the Department of Agriculture is going after criminals who are targeting Kentuckians through credit card theft at our gas pumps. And we are doing all of this at no additional cost to the taxpayer. So when you combine the Department of Ag's regulatory responsibilities with our main objective of promoting Kentucky agriculture, we like to say the Department of Ag affects every Kentuckian more than just 3 times a day. And not a day goes by that the Department of Agriculture does not interact with Kentucky Farm Bureau. We're going to continue to work with your all strong leadership from the county up as we start the dialogue about managing water through the Water Resources Board, to continuing the wise investments of our Ag Development Fund and Ag Finance Corporation, and we start the conversation about the unfortunate reality of 1 in 6 Kentuckians and 1 in 5 Kentucky school children who suffer from food insecurity. As Agriculture Commissioner representing a state with a strong ag economy and an abundance of food, I know we can do better. Please consider joining us in our effort to stamp out hunger and join the Kentucky Hunger Commission today. So as we celebrate what's best in Kentucky agriculture at this state fair, let's take pride and say thank you to our farmers who continue to be the best, to continue to feed our country and our state, and continue to innovate our ways to the future. If I can be of any help to you as the new Commissioner of Agriculture, please do not hesitate to contact me. It is an honor of a lifetime to represent you, and thank you for this opportunity. And with your help and Kentucky Farms Bureau's help, I know that we can run a Department of Agriculture that is efficient, accountable, and transparent, and a department that makes all of Kentucky proud. Thank you all so very much. Now, let's talk about some hams. Please welcome to the stage Lashley Stith, Superintendent of the Country Ham Contest, who will now announce this year's winners and call them to the stage to be recognized. Lashley?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have the pleasure of serving as the superintendent of the 2016 Country Ham Show. I would like to start by thanking those who helped make this show possible. Evan Davis and Rick Tyra with the Department of Agriculture, as well as our summer intern, Darylyn Browning. A special thanks to Miss Rita Phillips for decorating the ham once again. Our judge this year was Mr. Tony Snow with Goodnight Brothers Country Hams from Boone, North Carolina. The Country Ham Show is split into 2 divisions. The commercial division are those producers with a USDA inspected facility, and the non-commercial division are adults and even youth that may be curing their own country hams. Each division consists of 6 classes, with the first 4 based on weight and age, Class 5 being the cut and tasting class, and Class 6 is the best group of 5 hams. The awards, presented by Commissioner Quarles, are sponsored by the Kentucky Department of Agriculture. We will begin with the non-commercial division. Winning classes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and taking home the title of non-commercial champion ham, Nikki Baker from Fredonia. Congratulations. In the commercial division, winning classes 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6, Broadbent B&B Foods from Catawba. Our Class 3 winner in the commercial division is Harper's Country Hams from Clinton. Congratulations to those winners. And the 2016 Grand Champion Country Ham for the Kentucky State Fair comes to you out of Class 2, entry number 18427, Broadbent B&B Foods from Catawba. Congratulations.
Congratulations again, Ronnie. Now it's time for the event that we've all been waiting for this morning. It's time for the auction of the 2016 Grand Champion Ham. Over the past 52 years, there have been 28 different winning bidders for the Country Ham, and several of those are with us here today. In 1976, Coca-Cola from Louisville bought the Country Ham with a bid of $18,371.25. Roy Potts is here representing Coca-Cola with us this morning. Thank you for being here. Yes, thank you. In 2000, Stockyards Bank purchased the ham for $37,250. Special officials and guests are here today representing Stockyards Bank, and thank you again for being here this morning. 7 times in the past 11 years, Republic Bank and Trust Company has been the winning bidder of the ham in 2004, 5, 2008, 9, 10, 11, and again in 2014. Republic Bank purchased the Grand Champion Ham in conjunction with Hermitage Farms Charities and Bridgman Foods for a record combined bid of $2 million. In 2015, Republic Bank again bought the winning ham and had the winning bid of $400,000. Thank you so much, Republic Bank, for being here with us today. Show them their appreciation for it again. This year, joining our returning bidders are Stockyards Bank, PNC Bank, Farm Credit, Mid-America, Mortenson Family Dental, and Central Bank. Thank you all for being here and sharing with us this morning. To date, the auctioning of the past 52 Grand Champion hams has raised nearly $10 million for charity. This year's ham weighs 17.38 pounds and was produced, as you know, by Broadbent B&B Farms. I'd also like to introduce Miss Kentucky 2016. On July 2nd, Laura Jones, Miss Danville, was crowned Miss Kentucky 2016. She is the daughter of Tom and Pamela Jones of Fisherville in Spencer County and the second oldest of 7 children. Laura is 23 years old and a graduate of Kentucky Christian University with a degree in university studies and biblical studies with a minor in counseling psychology. She plans to become an eating disorders counselor and life coach. Laura's platform issue is Wait, What Am I Thinking?, which is a program she started that details her own struggles with an eating disorder and focuses on raising education and awareness of these issues. Thank you for being here very much this morning. Now, this year's auctioneer is Mr. Jonathan Noel, 2015 Kentucky Champion Auctioneer. He will be assisted by the floor by Mr. Warren Beeler. You here? Mr. Tim Dietrich, you here? Over here. We got some others. We got others. Junior Staggs, Junior, you here? All right, we're going to be taking bids. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I give to you Jonathan Knoll, and we're ready to have an auction. All righty.
Well, good morning, friends, fellow Kentuckians. My name is Jonathan Knoll from Lexington, Kentucky, and it is an absolute honor to be your auctioneer for the 53rd Annual Kentucky Farm Bureau Ham Breakfast. I'd like to take a moment and thank my beautiful wife, Amanda, daughter, Madeline Grace, mom, dad, Brad, and Teresa Knoll for being here today. Being the 2015 Kentucky Champion Auctioneer has certainly been a highlight of my career, and today, being in front of you fine people selling the ham is just the cherry on top. One of my good friends, Junior Staggs, who is working the ring for me today, is the current 2016 Kentucky Champion Auctioneer, and he'll have the pleasure of selling you all the ham next year. So there's been a lot of talk about politics today. There's been a lot of talks about this beautiful ham weighing in at 17.38 pounds. But let's take a moment to reflect on the purchase. The ham that you purchased today is not only a ham, but you're giving back to any organization that you want to, and 100% of it will be going to that organization. So with that being said, I think it is time to have an auction. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Who give $1 million? $1 million, $50,000, $50,000, $50,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, 70 bid. Who give $80,000 and $70,000, $80, $90, $100,000, $100,000, $125,000, $50,000, $125,000, here, $175, sir, and $150, $75,000 here, $75,000 there, $50,000, $150 bid. You're going to be $175 $150, $75, $2, $2 here, $2 there, $175 on the left side, sir. You're going to be $200 if you want, or $200, $25, $50, and $225. You're out over here. You got to be $50 and $225. Here you down $50 and $50, $250, $75, and $250, $75, here you down $250. Here you $75 if you want her, and $275 3, and $275 $300 here. You be $275. You get 3 here, $25 and $300. Here you down $25, $300 on the left side, $25, $50, and $325, $50, $58, $350, $75, $375, ma'am, and $350, $75, you want back in, sir? $350, $75, and $350, $75, shaker up and down, ma'am, you know you want to, and $350 bid, $75, and $350, $75 here, $75, $3, $75, 4, and $375, $400, $400,000 here, $425, and 4 bid, $25 here, $425 there, $425 shaker up and down, sir, and $400,000 bid, we get $425, and 4 here, $25 here, $425, 50, and $425 here to get down $50,000, $475, sir, and $450, $75 here, $475, $475 here, and $470, $475, $500,000, sir, and 5 here, $50, and $500, $50,000, 500 bid, $550,000, sir, and $500 here, here down $50,000, 500 bid, $550,000 if you want her, sir, and $500,000, you'd be $28,000 a pound. 550, 600, and 550, 600, 6 here, 50, about 600,000. Your turn, sir. Just like checkers, your move. And 650, 600 bid. Who gives $650,000 buyer? And 6 here, 50, 600,000 bid. Who wants to be $650,000? And secured. Are you done, sir? And secured. Well, thank you for your help. $600,000. Here you down 50. Here 50. 600 bid. Who gives $650,000? Well, $625 hip you at all. And secured. 20. $600,000 bid. Who get $25? And secured. 25 here. 25 600 here. What do you get? 25. And secured. 25 here. 25 there. Last and final call. Secured. 25. And I sold her $600,000 right here. Number Central Bank, I believe. Central Bank, $600,000. Central Bank.
Central Bank. He and Bill are big buddies, yeah. We thank every one of you for being here this morning. It's been a wonderful day for agriculture, a wonderful day at the State Farm, at State Fair here. We appreciate it so much. Thanks you for the bidders for being here.